And our opening conversation is between two very brilliant thought leaders, one of whom I used to work with many moons ago in the virtual world of Habbo Hotel, which is a real pioneer in the space. At one stage, Habbo Hotel had more items for furniture for sale than IKEA, and they welcomed celebrities like Justin Bieber, Calvin Harris, and Miley Cyrus into their virtual avatar-driven world. He just sold his company, Small Giant Games, for over $1 billion. That's a real major EU success story. And yes, I told you, we promised you unicorns, and here they are. So amigos, please welcome to the South Summit virtual stage for our first session of the day, two gentlemen who can see into the future and are very kindly sharing their insights with us here. Welcome to the stage, Timo Soininen from Small Giant Games and Seton-Rogers from Profounders. How are you both?
Very good. I feel like this is Eurovision coming at you live from London. Very exciting stuff.
Awesome.
Timo, how are you?
I'm really good. Great to see you, Oystein. It's been a while. We used to work together back in the day, so it's great to see you. And I'm very happy to be here.
Lovely to see you, Timo. Great to meet you, Sean. And Timo, I follow your updates. It's been such a joy to follow everything you've been doing over the past 10 years. So guys, I'm going to leave you to it. Sean, you're joining our jury later on, but I'm sure you have some great questions for Timo in the meantime. Take it away.
Excellent. Thank you very much. So as Oystein said, my name is Sean. I'm with Profounders Capital. We are a venture capital fund based in London. We write checks from €500,000 to €1.5 million, invest in companies like Made.com, Get Your Guide, Unity. And of course, the reason I'm here interviewing Timo is we were proud investors in Small Giant Games as well, which, as was mentioned, was bought by Zynga for $1 billion about 18 months ago or so. And Timo, on behalf of everyone, thank you very much for joining us today. So I believe we have 7 minutes. I have 5 questions for you, so we'll have to race through this. First question for you. So I know, as an investor in Small Giant, the first game that the company launched unfortunately didn't work out. The second game unfortunately didn't work out. What gave you and the team the confidence that Empires & Puzzles, your third game, would work out? What did you learn from the first 2 games that you could apply to that next shot at it?
Yeah, great question. So first of all, I would say that I mean, we learned our lessons throughout the journey. So first game, we spent too much time on it. We were not fast enough to build it. And we were focusing on, let's say, not the real metrics of the game. We were focused on a little bit of like vanity stuff like pixel perfect graphics and things like that. Whereas we should have been more focused on the actual content depth of the game, and how does the actual user retention work. So in short, we were not enough data oriented. We trusted more our opinions than data. But I suppose, it was a very painful learning experience when you spend almost 2 years of your time with your darling, and then your darling turns out to be not your darling. But we had the guts enough to actually kill the project very quickly and take all of the learnings that we could possibly get. And and the key thing was really to go into the data-driven iterative development and throw away your opinions.
Yeah, no, it's true. And from the investor side, we always say you don't invest into a game, you invest into a team who builds games. And that was definitely the case when with Small Giant Games as well. So as we mentioned, Empires & Puzzles launched. It did amazingly well from the very, very beginning, which is a testament to the team and the product. And yet, 3 years later, Empires & Puzzles is still doing very well. It's still near the top of the charts from a top grossing perspective. So what has driven the longevity of that game?
Yeah, first of all, I think we did a lot of homework back in the day. So we found a sort of market niche that was really, we thought at that time that would be sustainable for a long time, and that turned out to be right. So we really didn't trust our opinions. We went to we did a desktop research on the market opportunity. We dissected about 50 top games down to the progression mathematics. So we understood what works in the games and what doesn't work, and we sort of incorporated a lot of those systems and bake that with a nice sort of concept that has sort of lasted a long time. So the original sort of positioning was correct, but then after that, it's really been sort of listening to our players, very carefully. We have every single feature that we do is tested with beta testers with our community before we launch them, but it's really about the content and feature cadence, so that we have one of the best live ops operations in the world in terms of how we keep the game refreshed, and it just never ends. It gets bigger and bigger, so that we cater for the elder players, so they always have more things to do, go deeper into the game, and of course the newcomers who come to the game, they have a vast sort of environment and game to explore.
Now, that sounds daunting, and it sounds like you would have a lot of people needed at Small Giant to be able to deliver that. But actually, I know, at least in the early days, that wasn't very true. It was an insanely small team, even up till the stage of exit. Maybe you can tell us how you maintained that hyper growth with an incredibly lean team. I think you were under 30 people when the business was bought. Is that right?
No, that was much less. So, what is quite remarkable about this, because, the name Small Giant sort of, we had to be small because otherwise we couldn't be Small Giant, right? So we had to keep, so this very big game was built literally by 12 people. Small teams are just much more efficient. And when you couple that with the very rigorous decision making, because, if you're a small team, you can only do a few things. And luckily, those few things were exactly the right things to do. And the combination of decision making and good individuals was the trick.
It's unbelievable. So 12 people and sold for right around $1 billion. I think you're right. That has to be a record in any industry. So it's amazing. Now,
well, at the time we sold, we were 34, I think.
Okay, that's right. You had added. Yeah. Not that big in the grand scheme of things. And clearly Zynga made a very attractive offer for the business. But what convinced you to actually sell versus staying independent? Because there's definitely a path to continuing to remain independent and drive the business forward.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we were in a fortunate position that a lot of the big boys started knocking our door, and we could choose. So and we did have a conversations about that. Should we stay independent? But of course, games business is a fickle business, and one of the concerns was that we had a very significant offer on the table. But we figured, there were like four things really. First of all, we wanted to make sure that if we find a buyer who would really guarantee that we could maintain our unique culture and way of working, staying small, if you like. And Zynga's model was really a collection of, independent nation states, if you like, studios that can operate on their own. So that was a match. And second thing is that we knew from our mathematics for our data models that this game we were only at the beginning. We were in the bulk of $200 million revenue. We're very profitable at that time. We knew that over the next few years, we're going to make a lot of profit. And we said, if we can find a model that, yes, we can, get a decent amount of money right now, but we can also have an uncapped, unlimited earnout model that would, basically allow us to share the results with the new parent. And that fitted, Zynga's thinking perfectly. And there was another take. So the model was, we continued to be as entrepreneurs with a little bit of money in the bank, whilst still having a big opportunity to get the really big money later on. So that was really important, because we did have some big cultural clashes with some of the other buyers, very alien culture and sort of ways of working. We wanted to work with nice professional people who share the same vision and same ways of working and just love mobile games. And it was like four sort of ticks in the box, and there you go.
There we go. Match made in heaven.
Thank you. That was absolutely brilliant. Tick, 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 tick.